my dear friend, George Perezdiaz. Hey, this was hectic getting the schedule, wasn't it?
It is always fun to try to coordinate things like
With
this,
you.
the
Yeah.
fun stuff. Yeah.
Have you found that since starting, Perezdiaz LLC that it's been much harder to get stuff like this scheduled?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, doing more webinars and or going to conferences has been a little bit more challenging, but I hope you don't take this the wrong way. But it's a good thing because I'm actually making more time for the family, right?
Oh,
And that
100%.
has been one of those things that when I told my wife, babe, we got to do this. I got to get the business going and just be serious about it. And I tell you, we'll have more time. She laughed in my face. You're crazy if you think you're gonna have more time. Because
So
I'm
so
a
now
very
you're just in the process of trying to prove your wife wrong.
no,
But
no.
you're proving her right every day.
That's not a good idea. Yeah, you
Yeah.
never win. So no, that's not at all it. It's being intentional, right, and staying true to what's important and the things that you want to accomplish and not take things for granted, right? Because at the end of the day, why are we doing this? One, yes, we love what we do. You and I are similar boat. We're men of service, we're patriots, we're husbands and fathers, right? And we don't take any
Yeah.
of those two latter things for granted. So no, all good, brother. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, again, George, thank you for coming on. I know we have much more limited time than normal, and so I definitely don't want to squander that. But I really appreciate you and your ability to come on. I know after probably a longer day. What time zone are you in? Remind me what that is. Are you East Coast
Dallas,
too?
Texas, so central.
Okay. Okay. So this is a little bit. Yeah, you're 1 hour behind me, but still, I mean, I know your day has had to have been a little hectic, but yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I wanted to have you on because I mean, of the many faces in like the CMMC DIB implementation and advisory world, consulting and things like that, you're one of the most obvious ones that I feel like people know more like a professional LinkedIn talking head kind of sense, right? But not very much on a personal level. And I that's what I love about the podcast. I love doing the personal side of things. So I think I wanted to show you one thing really quickly. You have impacted my life so deeply. I just wanted to show you a little bit of a tribute to you. That's my work Windows background.
Stop. No, don't do that to me.
Hey, when you put stuff on the internet, what do all the ladies at church tell you? When you put stuff on the internet, you can't get it back, big
This
dog.
is true. It's in the public domain. You can do as you
You
please.
can't get it back. You can't get it back. Well, anyway, I wanted to show you that I thought that was such a fun. Where did you get the unicycle from? Like, what was that about?
It's obviously it's AI generated.
Of
So
course, of course.
yeah, so that's at the Texan, the Gaylord Texan here in Dallas, Texas. And
Mm,
I'm actually walking with my daughter. So that is a true t-shirt that I have. Everything but the unicycle and the 32 CFR are true. And AI does such a good job. It's scary. It is
yeah,
scary.
it is scary. It is scary. Well, I guess to dive right in, George, I like having people kind of just introduce themselves as deeply and as personally and as far back as they want to go. I like hearing where you grew up and how you grew up, family life, personal life, things like that. But as much as you're willing to share, of course, whatever you want. But I think that just really does bolster a lot of trust.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Wow. I am Dominican. I was born and raised in the beautiful island of the Dominican Republic. I grew up in the city. I moved to the States right after high school. And like any and most Dominicans, you have to go to New York City. So that's what I call the my port of entry, and home for a while. I tell my friends and close acquaintances that that is where I gained my independence. So I was a reborn, I guess, New Yorker. And I moved to New York on November 11th, Veterans Day, and I was sick as a dog when I arrived. I will never forget that. Yeah, I got sick in the plane, but nonetheless, struggled immensely. I didn't speak the language. I was trying to figure things out. Something got me towards service in the military, so I went to the recruiting station on 145th, where I wanted to be a Marine, and the Marine gentleman was not there, the recruiter, and that was such a good thing, I guess, because the Air Force lady said, you don't want to do the Marines, come with us. We'll train you and we'll get you ready for life, if you will. So I served for 9 years in the Air Force.
Oh wow.
I had two daughters, have two older daughters from a previous marriage while I was in the Air Force, then separated after 9 years from the Air Force. Unfortunately, I also got divorced. Then I became a contractor. My gosh, you have me blending the personal and the professional. I ever since
I'm here for
remarried.
it.
Yes, I've been with my wife for 21 years. I have now with her a 9-year old. I moved to Texas. I became uh, not a different person, but a better person, I suppose. And it is all about the people that are around you, right? You become more of that world that you're aware of. And like
Mm.
my friend Billy mentions, I want to give him credit for that. And you're surrounded by good people, and inevitably that brings out the good and the better in you. Back to the professional, 9 years in the Air Force. Then I became a contractor, like most folks in the DoD. I had the privilege of working for the State Department for a while, which was vastly different than being in the DoD space. Um, uh, yes, love working at the State Department in that experience. Then I went back to the DoD as a civilian, as a GS, 2210 IT specialist. I was working for the Joint Chief of Staff, helping with the nuclear command and control at the Pentagon. I started working on my master's, Steve, and I was learning a lot about systems engineering and design. And I could tell that I
Yeah.
was not going to use that in the Pentagon because it would take literally an act of Congress to make any changes, especially in the nuclear command and control space. So that was the first time that I decided to leave the public sector and go work for a Fortune 500 company. I was fortunate enough to go work for Corning Inc., where I was the IT. I was first the cybersecurity business analyst, senior. So I had a lot of fun working the business, working on integration every time the Corning went and did some merger and acquisitions. I was part of that project team that went and analyzed how the two companies can integrate and leverage the different tools. Every time there was a gap in the network, I was part of that team that went and did the market research, look into the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and capture the requirements, and created a plan to see how we can leverage those solutions and integrate it to a large enterprise, 50,000 employees. And then in 2016, DFARS 7012 was published. And I did not know that Corning was a defense contractor. So I got sucked right into the DoD space. So I was part of the team that was tasked to build the CUI program. Again, a 50,000 employee company. We reduced that to under 3,000 in scope. I was then given the opportunity to manage that effort. So I was the IT risk and compliance leader, responsible for overseeing the CUI program, if you will. I was blessed with the opportunity to be one of the first organizations that was assessed by the DIBCAC. When you see the DIBCAC OTS, all have been satisfied requirement list, that most organizations said that they were 110 and they were actually in the negatives. Well, I was fortunate enough to say that I messed up that statistics for the DoD. We actually passed with flying colors, and that was my cue there. Once we passed to realize that there's a lot that we can do in this space to help build, manage, and maintain CUI programs. So I loved my time at Corning, but I felt that I could help more by becoming a consultant, and that's when I did that in 2020. became a consultant, and then eventually moved to the Dallas area. My plan was always to start a C3PAO. I remember Katie Arrington mentioning back then that the CMMC will be one of the quote unquote easiest way for veterans to start their own business. And when you look at it from a veteran perspective, you can essentially continue to serve the country, right? Continue to serve the Department of Defense by helping industry manage and maintain and protect that information that is so critical. I became a consultant first because I was scared to start my own business. Full transparency, you said that this is very a safe space. I was scared, but in the last 2 years, I had this restlessness in my heart, Steve, that I needed to do something. And recently I was talking to someone and I shared that it's essentially like the parable of the man that was going up a mountain in a robe, and he had a bad storm hit him, and it was dark and it was cold, and he's stuck 1,000 feet from the bottom, 1,000 feet from the top, and he screams to the above, right? Anybody up there, please help me. What should I do? And God said, let go of the rope. And the guy said, anybody else? Because it's scary, right? And every time God asks us to do something, it's not the easiest thing to do. So that was me. I'm stuck in the middle for years, and I know I have to do this. And like I mentioned, I consulted, talked to the wife. I got to do this, and then I eventually let go of that road, man. And I don't have that hesitation in my heart anymore. It has been a great decision. And even though we're going through this weird phase where the DoD said, hey, I know industry, you have momentum building CUI programs, but let's pause. Even with this happening right now, it still feels good. I know it's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Perezdiaz LLC, like this company that you're running now. What I'm assuming that the opportunities are still like flowing in regardless of the pause. I mean, even if it's not directly related to necessarily CMMC, I'm sure there's a need in many ways to protect our country's information and just help companies in general be more cyber averse and things like that. I'm sure it's not just tied to this phase 2 implementation of this one chunk of the 32 CFR for having a C3PAO certification. I'm sure it's way more than that.
It is way more than that. And one thing that we did early on, Steve, and are doing is we are a C3PAO authorized as of February, but our goal and strategy has been to position ourselves as an internal audit, similarly to how we see in Sarbanes-Oxley, that most teams or organizations rather will have an internal audit team and then we'll have an external, of course. So we are that C3PAO that will do the readiness and give that affirmative official a higher level of confidence on, yes, my IT team is helping me maintain my program, and also I'm ready to go and partner, if you will, with another C3PAO other than us. And essentially we're managing risk, right? We're making sure that the C3PAO that's going to do the level 2, it's has an OSC that is entering their CMMC assessment process with a higher level of confidence that they know what the output is going to be. Granted, we don't guarantee that you're going to be CMMC level 2 certified, but we'll, like you guys, right? You do a great job. So you can tell someone, I know that you're going to do all right if you follow the steps, right? And it's only if you follow the steps. So while we are blessed with work, it has a low down for sure. I'm not going to lie and say, this is great. And no, the pause has slowed a little bit of our projection, but even then I see it as an opportunity. I've learned immensely after this pause that I need to update my C3PAO agreements. So that was a blessing in disguise, right? There's a lot from a business perspective that I've been able to realize that that pause was actually a good thing. Here are the things that we can be doing. We can improve our documentation, our process, how we interact with EMS, etc. So there's always things that we can learn from and improve.
Yeah, there's so many questions. So I guess one of the things I'm just curious about. So would you say, because I've heard different things, and so I'm genuinely curious what the consensus is going to end up being. When we look back at this, 6 months later or something like that, well after the review is finalized. So would you say that your company has noticed like clients truly backing away from, you know, not maybe not implementation, they don't want to admit that, but at least the certification side of it?
Yes, it has slowed down. Some clients have paused. Most clients have not. We have paused, very few cancellations, but from our consulting side, there's a lot of them that are staying the course.
Yeah.
I jokingly say a lot of those that are just saying, you know what, I just want to get CMMC level 2 certified. uh, In their voices, sometimes I feel they're saying out of spite because they're tired of the back and forth of go, no go, do, don't do, right? And they've already made the investment. They already has the funds allocated. They're ready. So why delay it anymore? So no, a lot of them
Mm.
are continuing to move forward for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the consensus that I've been hearing is, you know, even for some of the C3POs, I was telling Matt Travis in the conversation, or yeah, I was telling Matt Travis in the conversation I had with him a couple weeks ago that we just released that, yeah, we talked to one guy who had like 14 assessments lined up. Now he was part of a bigger C3PAO, but he had like 14 assessments lined up and only, I think, 2 or 4 of them even paused. All the other ones stayed the course, like schedule wise. And I have a feeling that it's bigger companies that are the ones that are going to be able to, you know, say, okay, well, we're already here, let's do it, as opposed to like maybe smaller companies. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Smaller companies that have less funding and whatnot that are like, okay, if I don't have to follow through with this
Yeah.
$50,000 assessment, I don't want to.
No, I don't. I don't think I've seen a difference in the size. Honestly,
Mm,
Steve, it has been more of a it's more psychological and cultural than anything because the companies that are small enough, but they are very proud, for lack of a better
mm,
term, that they have made immense progress from the working on it for the last 4 years or the last 9 months, whatever the case may be. That's what I've noticed. It's not size; it's more of who is what makes that team. Is it small enough with the CEO that is fully vetted and integrated in the process? Is it one where the CEO gives this one person or small team full authority and the support that they need to get through the CMC level 2? Yeah, I would say it depends. It's more of that the attitude and the culture of the company versus the size.
mm. I mean, I guess what do you think is going to be the outcome? I have obviously my projections, right? You know, everybody kind of knows what those are now, but I'm curious, what do you think is going to be the main changes? What do you think are going to be the things that stay the same? I personally think that we're going to see a lot of the same. They're going to come to similar conclusions that they have with previous CIOs. I've said this a million times, so I'm not going to say it again. But yeah, do
Say it
you
one more
agree, or
time.
do you have other? Do what?
Say it one more time. I know you said a
Okay,
million
okay.
times.
I think 2 things are going to happen within this from this 60-day review. I think, and I think there's a lot of correlative circumstances. Okay, so I think 2 things are going to happen. I think number one, we're going to see a lot of the same. I think Kirsten Davies is going to see from this review, this effort, that a lot of the things that the 32 CFR, as it is written in the subsequent 48 CFR and the programs around it, were logical conclusions that the previous administrations and CIOs came to. Right, this was all a lot. At least a lot of it was logical. But on the other hand, I do see that okay, you know, they may have a lot of similarities and come to similar conclusions, but I do think it's ironic that the FAR CUI overhaul or the FAR overhaul with the COI rule and that proposed rule aligning with like the ODPs that the DoD prescribed and the FedRAMP CR 26 happening all at the same. I saw you post about that yesterday or something like that. You know, I wrote a blog, very similar opinion about that whole situation, and I think it's more than irony or more than coincidence that that's all happening in the same time as this. And I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of modernization efforts that will probably result in maybe some further rulemaking and further postponements of phase implementation. But we'll see a lot of the same, but just delayed longer for the sake of modernization. So things like, right now, as you know, just as well as anybody, CMMC is a standalone point in time assessment. There's no true con-mon delta assessment, save, trying to confirm that 3.12.3 is implemented. But even 3.12.3 being implemented is a sketchy thing, because somebody could just start doing con-mon activities 3 months leading up to the assessment, and there's no way you could have the authority to say, no, you're not doing con-mon. You know what I mean? We have no precedent for that. So I think a lot of these things are going to be rooted out. And I was in a working group the other day, and honestly, it was a little discouraging. But just, I won't say who was there, what was involved, but just pointing fingers at people, the people in charge, and I just didn't think a lot of that was warranted. They are our leaders, right? So they represent us, and they, we gotta be equitable. But it's not the same as necessarily gossiping about somebody. But we gotta. There are leaders, so we have to hold them to a good standard and things like that. But at the same time, I always try to be an optimist, but I do think that when we come out the other side of this, we're going to see modernization efforts that are going to stall things a little further. But I do think we're going to come back to some of the same conclusions, like the need for third-party assessments. I don't know how we get away from that. That was the whole point. That was the whole point. And I don't think we can augment DIBCAC, like in any formidable way. Like all the C3PAOs just go under DIBCAC now. Like that, I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah. I get that. After the 60, I said originally on a post that I was obviously bothered by the stop, but I said that in the next 60 to 90 days, yes, we will see some changes, but not a lot. The one thing that I do anticipate is that CMMC will go back to what it needed to be. CMMC level 2 by C3PAO is going to be intentional and very specific to programs and contracts, not the statement that the DoD made last year that as soon as you have DoD CUI, you're going to need a CMMC level 2. That was just too broad and too much. And that is not the point of protecting CUI, right? It's not that we're going to treat all CUI equally and therefore enforce it universally the same way. So I think that will be more strategic and intentional where we put a C3PAO assessment. One. Two, and I said this also on a LinkedIn post, the DoD needs to take more accountability on the way their KOs, contracting officers, are or are not defining CUI. They have to tell us what is CUI and stop the whole, well, you need to know what is CUI industry. No, you tell us.
Or just assume it's all CUI.
Right, exactly. And that is not helpful, right? Because as you know, the CUI program was born to improve communications, and we're doing the opposite today, right? By putting way too many constraints on the small small contractors in general. Like you mentioned with the revolutionary FAR overhaul and the CUI rule, I anticipate more exactly that. You said innovation, and I say innovation and harmonization, where we need to be able to, again, be specific on the requirements that we need to do, the special handling for the CUI, the reporting. I love the way actually the CUI rule was refreshed from what it was last year in January to what it is this year in the last several months. Huge improvements where I don't know if you remember, I'm sure the federal government wanted us to report within 8 hours. That was relaxed, and now is right size. Now they are also separating the channels. Hey, if you have been grandfathered through the DIPNet reporting, continue to do that and whatnot. So that's another thing that I anticipate is harmonization. And one of the indicators that I'm also seeing with all our consulting clients is the emphasis on the words that even Ms. Davis uses when she's being interviewed: supply chain risk management. We need to pay close attention to those words. It's not just let me flow down the requirement and hope that Steve and Intelli can protect my CUI. It's intentionality again. making sure that I do my homework as an organization that is about to share sensitive information with you, and that I know that you have a good understanding of what it is that is about to happen, and that you have the capability and the capacity to protect that CUI. So more and more we'll see very specific supply chain risk management plans and expectations from industry. Probably what the prime contractors have been doing, right? That a lot of the time we criticize. Contractors are giving out a lot of the requirements. Well, it is their information. It is their contract obligation on you. And they don't have to follow 3248 CFR. That is their business process. But those are the things that I anticipate. And yeah, like you, C3PAOs are not going to go anywhere. Yes, we need more dynamic way of assessing. All right. You and I have talked through the years, many years, about machine readable data, system generated information. That is better than having a team of C3PAOs assessors that is mainly reviewing documentation, because that does no one any favors, right? Let's get to the real ones and zeros and ensure that we're looking at the cyber risk from the right perspective and lens.
Yeah, and that's a big, getting back to the whole, I don't think it's just irony or coincidence. I mean, that's a big thing that that GSA did with FedRAMP. That everything needing to be, there's this funny phrase that they have in the CR26 when they're talking about this, and they say, well, even the FedRAMP or the Rev 5, FedRAMP requirements have been updated to be modernized. And one of the things it says is no longer, everything's going to be machine readable JSON or OSCAL optionally. And so they expect all the cloud service providers to get on board with like a GRC type tool that can handle machine readable stuff, because they don't want any more. And they use the phrase artisanally handcrafted documents, like Word documents and spreadsheets. And it's like, yeah, but that's our lives, right? Like, Word docs and spreadsheets and everything that we're doing. This is not a pitch for IntelliGRC by any means, because we create those same documents. But my point is like, I agree with you. I think that's going to be one of the big modernization efforts is, assessment teams should not be, and if you can do anything to reduce subjectivity and increase efficiency, I think that's what's going to end up happening. It's got to.
Yeah, 100%. That is good. That's the other thing. Subjectivity and objectivity. It's going to kill us. And I love how you mentioned the documentation. I call it compliance poetry. I've called it before because
you're such a romantic guy.
You know it. But yeah, for the first 90 days, Steve, I have people come, organizations come very proud, very, very secure, very sure that they're ready. And because their documentation is beautiful, right? AI can do exactly that. Organize your documents in a way that it's a compelling argument that, yeah, you're probably secure and compliant, until you ask several questions. For me, no secret, we asked about 3.1.3. If you can eloquently explain 3.1.3 and then connect it to 3.13.1, you probably have a program that you understand. You have your boundaries in 3.1.20. You have your boundaries defined. You know where your CUI is. You know what is CUI within your organization and system boundary. And you can actually, I can believe at that point that you know what you're doing. But yeah, unfortunately, there was a lot of organizations come with beautiful documentation, not ready to enter the CMMC process. And yeah, there's that.
Yeah. You mentioned particular requirements that it's almost, I don't want to sound like arrogant here, but it's almost laughably obvious that there's some cognitive holdups of being ready to get assessed for this. Like we talk, I mean, I feel like it's almost every week that we're having a consulting conversation, because IntelliGRC is mainly an app, but we also have like a services consulting. We support MSPs and things like that, and we really prioritize that. And I feel like it's almost every week where we're fleshing out very, very, very common misunderstandings with these requirements. And so we're talking about now CMMC moving to Rev 3, for example, and we haven't even rooted out all the misunderstandings with Rev 2, so it's like there's so many moving pieces. And when I saw the what was interesting is before the suspension was announced, probably one of the most highest level activity LinkedIn posts that I had put out was sharing what everybody else was sharing about that little blip in the unified agenda of CMMC moving from Rev 2 to Rev 3. And, and then this all comes crashing down. And, I guess I'm just trying to say that I just don't think this is coincidental. Like, I feel like there's a lot, like there's already some, and I want to repeat what Matt Travis said on our conversation, that, he does believe that the Pentagon and Kirsten Davies are actually doing a review in good faith. They're not saying that they're just coming to the table with pre-planned agenda items, and this is just to save face. I do think they're like Matt said, I do think they're doing real review items to really consider what they can improve about the program. But at the same time, I don't think it's a coincidence that the unified agenda calls out Rev 3, which I know doesn't mean a lot, right? It's just saying that it's going to be talked about. And then FedRAMP consolidated rules and the revolutionary overhaul, all these things are happening all together. Why it makes sense why there's a little bit of a holdup before we get into the territory where we're levying these on contracts, and a lot of contracts. Maybe we should think about this. Oh, and that's not to mention FedRAMP moderate equivalency, but we'll get there in a second.
I love revision 3, by the way. I think it is such
I do too.
Such an improvement on the standard. But that's an excellent point. And that is a good reminder that the main thing that is paused is the C3PAO assessments, right?
Yes.
The machine to protect CUI on the cloud and on non-federal organization systems still there. And yeah, revision 3 is going to take a lot of people by surprise, like you've mentioned. If you're not looking into that, you're going to be missing out. But yeah, I'm with you.
What do you think is the biggest, if your son was a DoD contractor, right, and you're looking into your beautiful boy's face and trying to prepare him for the world. I know you said you have girls, but pretend you have a son for a second with me. Well, it's okay. Your daughter, she's running a company, and you're like, and she's not thinking about Rev 3. What do you think is going to be the biggest thing from Rev 3 that is going to rock her world? Like this person you care about so deeply that you're trying to get, warn them about what's coming. What is the number one thing?
There's 3 things though, Steve. Is the 3 new domains, right? We fought for the longest time plans, policies, and procedures, which is part of any federal agency, and that was one of the things that we often argued for the first so many years of NIST 171 and D4 7012. So that's there. Yeah. The supply chain risk management is going to be one that is going to take a lot of organizations.
I think so surprise.
Too. That's a lot of work.
That I think.
And we are, even today, we're terrible with cyber risk. We don't understand cyber risk in the standard today, and the new standard is going to have more of it, right? Especially with that supply chain risk management. So I would say it's those, and there's also additional specificity within the existing 14 families. When you look at the AC family, now you have additional details on what does it mean to identify an authorized user, an authorized device, right? There's more specificity there that to me, it is useful and helpful. I'm a big fan of ODPs. To me, it's fill in the blank and off you go. But now, you have that one publication, that memo rather, that is within the Q&A. It disappeared from the DoD CIO website, but it is in the FAQs rather, the Q&A. So that's there. Yeah, just the 3 domains. Supply chain risk management is absolutely going to be a lot of fun for organizations because it's a lot more paperwork.
Yeah, the ODPs and ODVs is a big one too, right? Like you just mentioned that. When you think about, yeah, it's 97 requirements, right? Um, but when you think about like, all the determinative statements, assessment objectives for 80171 Rev 3's the alpha document, and the ODPs, like just the extent at which if the DoD keeps them, that's another thing I'm wondering if will be changed from all this. Maybe this review is, do we anticipate any of those ODVs that were prescribed by the DoD will be adjusted? Because like for example, I can see a lot of like Microsoft only companies, like cloud only Microsoft, like GCC high companies and stuff like that. That everything they do is cloud based and with laptops and stuff. I can see them really struggling to implement the DoD's requirements. Like for example, there's no way to enforce the minimum password character requirements that the DoD prescribes in Rev 3,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? With just baseline intro, they would
Not out
have
of
to
not out
deploy
of the
like
box, right? Yeah.
right. They would have to deploy like a domain controller with fine grained password, something
Hmm.
else to help and make that happen. I could just see this being one of those things is like, okay, if we're really worried about innovation and efficiency and delivering the warfighter, what they need, right, through these contracts, maybe they're going to take a second look at these ODPs. I'm not making a prediction, George. I'm not making a hard prediction. Just throwing it out there.
I will tell you that yes, I anticipated the ODBs. I like how you guys have been calling it for a while. Again, efficient defined values and parameters. They will change potentially, very likely, highly
Hmm.
likely, because of what we were talking about, the harmonization between the standards, especially now since we have more DHS, NASA, GSA already communicating revision 3 before even the DoD, right? We've already seen it in some of
Yeah.
their contracts. Those ODPs, ODVs are going to be critical to ensuring that the federal government is driving the same requirement to industry, because that's the worst thing that we can have, those competing values between agencies, and making it very difficult for industry to then have to define more than one CUI program. And in my ideal world, it's a CUI program, right? Where everything comes in that is CUI specific into that one program. And then if I have quote unquote level 3 and or more specified CUI that needs additional handling, then I can create a SharePoint side that's specific to just those defined values, right?
Hmm.
So for that reason, I will see that will be another effort that will be within those agencies, the GSA of the world, the NASA, the DoD, and DHS. Also, one thing to remember, though, Steve, is that the values are intended to be the proverbial 80-20. Here's 80% of the industry that will be able to address these requirements, ODVs, ODPs, and there's a 20% that inevitably are going to have to conduct a risk-based approach. Hey, DoD, you asked me for these values, federal government in general, not just DoD. But here's what I have done as an organization to show you that while I cannot show you the password, for example, character, without breaking the core of my security program, i.e., my zero trust identity pillar, right? Here's what we offer instead. And is this adequate and sufficient for the DoD? And the likelihood, right, that we'll have now a true entry point where the DoD mentioned a long time ago, hey, if you have anything that you cannot implement, submit it to the DoD CIO, and that nobody
Right.
ever
Yeah.
replied. We'll have one of those to be able to determine if what is proposed by industry to not break the system, right? Because at the end of the day, the government expects products and services from us, and for us to handle that information in a secure with adequate security, as they call it in the regulation, right? But if that adequate security break the way in which I can give you that trigger that you hit generates heat and then something goes boom, then I'm pretty sure that the DoD federal government will be able to find a way to, you know what, you don't have to do that as long as you continue to give me that button that transmit heat and we can do a big boom in the air, then I'm okay with that. And that's what I see happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole the compensating controls approach,
Right.
that would be nice to see some. We're spitballing now, but that would be nice to see some maybe I shouldn't respond to the RFI with that. It would be nice to see something like that being given to the authority of the assessor instead of having to go through the avenue of the CIO. And then it'd be part of the reputation of the assessor, the C3PAO, that then is checked by the DoD, so that, you know, I I can only imagine, I will just say, I can only imagine how, you know what the red tape is like. You were part of it. You know, you were part of it. So like you can probably imagine what the red tape is like on the DoD side. I mean, responding to adjudication letters, like you said, I don't know really anybody who has ever requested for a variance from an 800-171 requirement through the DFAR 7012 pathway. And but I can imagine it's not a very efficient process. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm totally wrong, but I mean, I can imagine it'd be nice if, like, mid-assessment, right, or maybe even as part of the pre-assessment phase, the OSC can, you know, just like a lot of assessors have like a place in their pre-assessment process where they talk about, okay, are there any NA requirements that we need to be aware of? Maybe there's a place that they could say, okay, are there any controls that vary from the letter of the law per se of 800-171, but that you have implemented a compensating requirement or a compensating control in its place? And maybe that'd be an avenue for it. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways that maybe this could be improved.
Yeah, and we're already seeing, and like you said, we're spitballing and just having a conversation, and some people are listening, but this is not advice or telling you to do this and go argue with your C3PAO. These are just two dudes hanging out. Use this information at your own risk. But anyways, there's enough indicators, if you will, within 32 CFR with the enduring exceptions, right, and the operational poems that it's hinting towards exactly what you and I are talking about here. So it's not foreign. And then you go back to CMMC version 1, where we had the ability to segregate end-of-life systems that we thought were too risky, right? We can continue to do that in security programs. But again, my usual song and dance is that we need to get better as cyber risk management. How do we do that? How do we make the determinations that something is a specialized asset, that something is an NA, that something is out of scope? And then through that risk-based approach, create a document, a position document, if you will, as a company to say, here it is, C3PAO, this is how we arrived at the conclusion that XYZ is okay. Do you agree or disagree? And then as a C3PAO, now I'm putting on my C3PAO hat, I have the authority and reserve the right to say, very nice, cute. I don't want to assess that organization. You know what I mean? I can say,
I'm not going to put my stamp of approval on that.
Yeah, exactly. But now that is my risk appetite and risk tolerance that I have when somebody enters our CMMC assessment process.
Dude, they should just make us the decision makers, dude. We should
Done. I kid you not, man. We'll cure cancer in 45 minutes, you and I.
Matt, if you're watching this, and well, I know you don't have much to say, but we'll be on the advisory. We'll take over the advisory, and then Mrs. Davis, we're here, ready to go.
Tag us in, coach, right?
Yeah. What's on the horizon for Perezdiaz aside from, you know, the C3PO stuff? Trying to wait out, see what happens. You guys got other things, other types of services that you're spinning up, or are you still staying the course with just CMMC?
Yeah, we are staying the course. We believe that, like you said, this pause, it's exactly that, just a pause, and is potentially a really good pause to right size what it is and what it isn't. So for us, we'll continue to communicate that we are first an internal audit firm helping between assessments. We'll continue to do mock assessments because we enjoy being able to assess you as a C3PAO and then give you context of what you need to fix. Then you can turn around, get your implementation partner to help you implement those changes that we recommend. And then you go and find another C3PAO. That's our sweet spot. That's what we enjoy doing. And then the other thing that I tell anybody that lends us an ear, if you're a C3PAO and you come across, or a consultant, and you come across an organization that has very cool technology for the DoD, and they need to find a C3PAO to do a level 2 for them, let us know. Give us the opportunity to work with them. We have a healthy network, and hopefully we can find the right assessment team to be able to support exactly like the pause calls out, right? Oh, we're driving people out of the business. Not really. I'm not the only C3PAO that is willing to work with small organizations. Just reach out and find the good people that are willing to help. But yeah, we're staying the course, man. This is what we love. This is what we do. This is what we were meant to do.
And do you ever see Perezdiaz LLC doing any other like cybersecurity frameworks supporting like HIPAA or other things like that?
So thank you for that question. Things that we do, but we don't advertise, is we design controls. So by having the very mature skills of understanding what business does, what the problem potentially is, and how a security control is built and implemented in an organization, we can help with just about any framework. So things that we have done and do, probably will start advertising more, I suppose, is NIST cybersecurity frameworks, because we can grab any cybersecurity requirement that organization has or information security requirement, create or find a way to create a profile, as they CSF used to call it, the NIST cybersecurity framework, and implement security programs. So that's one of the things that we definitely do. And I don't know if you've heard, I posted a couple of weeks ago, right before the pause, that we have the gateway.perezdiaz.com. Our intent is to continue to mature that space where we have complementary or publicly accessible self-assessment tools. We'll have more reference material. And the cool thing, and you're going to like this, Steve, is that we'll have the way for organizations to go do their assessments, self-assessments, export that in a JSON. And if they already have a relationship with IntelliGRC, they can come back, upload whatever they filled out in our tool, will be readily available through your IntelliGRC, and they can do that with any other GRC tool. So what we're trying to do is help industry help themselves where they can, and when they need to go somewhere else to find a implementation partner or GRC tool to work and help them finish that last leg of the race, they'll have that help to do that. So yeah, we have a lot of exciting things coming in the future here, near future.
Well, at least we can say you're not twiddling your thumbs, right?
That is one of my flaws, yes.
Yeah, you don't twiddle your thumbs. You ride unicycles and read at the same time.
Very, very gifted man.
You're a very gifted man. AI gifted. He's AI gifted with AI. AI has blessed him.
It's the prompts and the ultimate output that you want from it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we use a lot over here. It is definitely a
that's right.
huge tool in our arsenal. Well, I know that I want to be cognizant of your time, and I appreciate. Maybe we could do this again sometime. Maybe do a longer segment or something like that. You know, when you get some more free time. I know you're busy, dude. I get it.
Oh, I'm not that busy, and I'm always available to good people. So yeah, just reach out. We'll have fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you want to let people know how they can get up with you and stay in touch with you and your company?
Yes, absolutely. If you know my last name, you pretty much know where to find us, right? It's Perezdiaz.com. Email is either cmmc@perezdiaz.com or george@perezdiaz.com. And if you look for George Perezdiaz on LinkedIn, also pretty easy to find. So we're very accessible. Thank you for the opportunity. I have fun. Missed you, actually. So I'm glad that we finally got to reconnect.
Yeah, dude. I want to get some food sometime. I don't know when. Will you be at CS5 East?
Yeah, okay. Let's make it a deal. Let's break bread, man. We need to.
Yeah. I'll send you something. I got to send you something anyway, right? What was it I had to send you earlier? Your address. My address for the T-shirt. For the T-shirt. Okay.
You have a baby. I know you're not sleeping much, so I forgive you.
Not much. Hey. My brain is fried, brother. It is absolutely fried. But hey, we're doing well, and we're very blessed. So I guess to the listener, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.